Hello, everyone. In today's session, we have a new guest, and we have Scott in our episode for recruitment agencies, and we wanted to understand where the market is going on now because we mentioned also with Scott there is a lot of noise, and we are curious about Scott's opinion about the market trends, problems, challenges as well, and how they think they can actually fulfill in the market in the future as well. So, thank you so much, Scott, for being here. Appreciate that you are our guest. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Amazing. Scott, thank you for being here. Can you give us, like, for those that don't know nothing about you and also for the company, can you give us an introduction? Who you are, who is Scott, and what you guys are doing, what you guys are selling?
Sure. Easy question about or easy answer. My name is Scott Ortes. I serve as Vice President of Operations at Suna Workforce Management. We're a part of Suna Solutions. Suna Workforce Management is a provider of managed services and employer of record. So we work with a wide variety of different types of end clients. Largely in the life sciences space, but also in technology, financial services, consumer packaged goods, and partner with well over 100 different staffing agencies. So I have exposure to what a lot of the listeners of this podcast competitors are doing to stay competitive in the market.
Amazing. It's awesome, Scott. And for the audience, what they actually should know about you and also about the services that you provide, like how can you support them? How can you help them? Because we talk with a lot of companies, recruitment agencies, and they don't know how to explain this to the customers because there is a lot of problems, and also with this AI the market expectation change a lot, and people in these days are expecting A players to hire but they want to pay C players.
Yeah.
Like C players salaries make no sense. Like if you want great people you need to invest. It's like an investment, it's not like an expensive. How do you think about, like, how can you support the audience?
Yeah, so that's a really good question, and I don't know if there's necessarily a very simple answer to that. Um, so we, again, I mentioned we work with a pretty wide variety of clients, but our primary focus is on middle market, so companies that are maybe a little bit on the smaller side, but are kind of hitting a growth stride. And one of the reasons that they come to us is that they have gotten to a certain point where it's become too difficult or unmanageable to engage with a number of staffing agencies directly. And so they need some sort of support. They need strategy. They need consultation. And kind of circling back to the end part of your question, finding the right talent. Certainly, if you're kind of skimping your budget down, you're going to lose out on some prospectively very good talent, which is why I think it is very important to have a good consultant that you can work with that can provide good market data on if you're trying to hire A players in a region that's a very high cost of living, there's a price tag that's associated with that. And perhaps you need that some same sort of A player, but we can help to guide you to where you might be able to procure that talent a lot
Mhm.
more efficiently, right? There
Mhm.
are many different markets and many different price points here in the United States. We also have partnerships that extend across the globe. So, we've got great record with building up teams outside of the United States as well. And so that's why services like ours exist, right? So we open up talent marketplaces for companies, and whereas a lot of our competitors in the managed service space, have been doing this for quite some time for very large companies. I, you There's really just kind of a group of competitors similar to mine that are starting to offer the service to the mid-market space.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, amazing. I think makes sense. I think, as I mentioned, with this big expectation from the market, a lot of people are expecting big A players, but they are not willing to pay for that. And on other people that I talk with, especially for the US market, I talk with other operational guys and also CEOs. The US market is so saturated that on what I saw, people are more actually interested to hear about the homeless than the recruitment agencies. They don't just want to hear about recruitment. It's so hard for them. This is what I saw because everyone are just spamming other people with cold emails and all of this stuff, and it's hard to get the credibility. And they got some of them try to use phone calls with the AI, but doesn't work. Like it's so spammy, make no sense. And I think the more we are going to have the AI and technology overall, the more we are going to prioritize the relationship with others, like talking with a real human, even on the phone call. Like at the moment, even when you are maybe this is my case, when I got a phone call from a software or something, I don't know truly if I talk with a real person or with the AI because it's so real, those
Sure.
AI tools, like so real. And you can feel the emotion to move people forward. And that's interesting idea that we've got from other people's. And Scott, from your perspective, because the recruitment agencies and recruitment industry overall change a lot, how do you see the future of the market for the next months or years to come?
Sure. So, I mean, AI is here, and it's certainly not going away, certainly anytime soon, if ever. I I think that you'll find that the staffing agencies that become the most successful are ones that find ways to help harness the power of AI to make the humans that are working for them more effective at their jobs, right? So, yeah, I've seen some companies that have really gone kind of like wholesale into like we're gonna, have a bunch of agents that AI agents that are handling, big parts of this recruitment process or handling sales calls. And there's but once you start to lose the human side of our business, I think predictably those businesses are not going to be around long term, right? Whereas
Yeah,
on the flip side, I've seen some staffing agencies that have found ways to plug in AI and do it really, really successfully, where maybe they're turning to AI, to sort through 10,000 resumes to help their recruiters instead of recruiters needing to dial 1,000 different numbers. Maybe they're dialing 50, right? And it's
yeah,
stack ranking kind of the top 50, or they're have recording a conversation between two humans, right, a recruiter and a candidate, and then they're going to analyze analyze that video segment with AI and have it pull out kind of some key points that they can use in their presentation to a client, right, or using AI to aggregate very large data sets and be able to provide to their client, here's, for all the different markets that we might be hiring in, here's typical pay rates, here's what we're seeing for bill rates. So really delivering back usable market data that that the client can use to make better hiring decisions. Like there's great cases for harnessing and using AI, but it's not to replace what's really at the
yeah.
core of our business, which is humans, right?
Exactly. I can agree with you 100%. I actually talked with a guy who owns like he ran a fintech company, and he was so disappointed about his developers because they didn't track exactly how productive they were for the project, and they were looking for actually some developers that they can understand as well the vision for the roadmap of the company with new features and everything, not just daily tasks like, okay, you are doing the line of code and everything. So this is like B, C player, actually C player. A player is the guy, in my opinion, that handle everything and he solved the problem before even exists the problem. They predict the problem they wanted to avoid. I think they lead things forward. That's so important, I think. And people are just looking for junior people for paying less salaries instead, like having senior guys who can move things forward. And I think one senior guy can actually make more than 10 junior guys because they have more clarity on this. And this is something interesting with the AI. I think a lot of people are just using AI at the moment just to solve the problems of their company, but not to like take leverage to automatize or everything within the company. Like we can see this on the students. They are using ChatGPT. They don't know how to use their own brain. to think on ideas, not being creative. It's so hard because we have this pattern with ChatGPT and everything with the AI that we think on frames, on scripts, on everything. It's so hard for some people to think with their own brain at the moment in the market. So that's also an advantage for some of them, but also a problem for some people.
Sure.
Um, awesome. And Scott, looking ahead for the next 6 to 12 months, what do you think are the top prioritize or priorities and goals that you want to accomplish?
Um, Boy, well, I love more clients, so that's always a top priority of mine, right? Um, but more seriously, we kind of circling back to the AI part of our conversation, we are looking at some very specific task-oriented implementations of AI to help to make our existing team members a lot more effective at their jobs, right? We do a lot of data entry and kind of processing type task work. A lot of
Mhm.
those sorts of things are kind of ripe for automation. Um, we are continuing to invest also in other sorts of kind of breaking software applications that I'm pretty excited about. We're doing a lot of investment also though in our team members and helping to upskill them. And we've have always been a company that has believed in kind of investing in its employees. And I think the kind of truth on how that bears out. Most of the people that are within leadership in our organization have kind of started towards the bottom and worked their way up. And so, as we're sitting down and looking at budgeting for next year, that continues to be a big spend area, right? Is how are we making those folks better? Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, that's not going away with any AI expenditures.
Mhm. Amazing. You mentioned something about the AI and doing this part. Where do you think, or where do you see the technology for the next months, next years, that can actually uh, not replacing, because I don't think it's the case, but to improve everything, to make it better, more efficient? Where do you think is
Or
going to make this progress within the recruitment agencies as well?
Yeah, so I mean, I guess more specific to the recruitment side of things, looking at like I use like interview scheduling, I think is always an area that it takes a lot of time, right? And so we're looking at some tools that can help to automate the scheduling of interviews, plug into to different applications, kind of handle the back and forth, between sometimes several different parties and trying to get them to be, on the same Zoom call at the same time to facilitate an interview. On the kind of business operations side, looking at tools that can assist with the APAR process. Again, lots of transaction work that our company does, and being able to make our existing folks a lot more efficient at their jobs. It's to us a very sound investment.
Okay, amazing, awesome. That's interesting point, to be honest. I think the interviews we were using before Hireflix or something was the name of the tool for the candidates and everything doing the interviews, but more video side. Was not that successful, to be honest. It's a lot of time consuming as well. So that's awesome. And Scott, if you'll have like a magic wand, like Harry Potter to have a wish, what wish would be in order to improve something within the company that can actually support you, that can help you?
Change something within my company that would be
Yes,
helpful.
yeah.
That's a really interesting question. I mean, if I had a magic wand and I could give us, an extra 10 hours a week, that would be great. However, I like my coworkers like to be able to have a life outside of work. So maybe I won't wish for that. Um, yeah, I think given a magic wand, I love to have kind of economic situations improve and get kind of get the world back on track for some great growth. It's always really exciting times when we feel like we're building towards something positive instead of trying to kind of fend off a potential decline. So
Mhm.
yeah, if that was my magic wand, it would be to change the macroeconomic situation.
Okay, wonderful. Awesome. As I mentioned in the beginning, there were a lot of recruitment agencies that were complaining about their outreach and everything. How do you guys, and what's your opinion about what is working and not working in order to get new recruiters, new candidates, new customers overall?
Yeah, so again, I'm going to tie that back to um, using AI, but not losing kind of the human side of it, right?
Yeah.
So we have done a bit of investment on tools that are really, really interesting tools actually to help to prospect for contacts within companies and even see what companies might be interested in buying or candidates that might be interested in making moves. So
Mm-hmm.
there's some really interesting tools out there that do it. But what we found is that if you take those leads and you just kind of plug them into a systematic approach, for cold outreach, it's not very effective, right?
Yeah.
And I have seen some, you know, very kind of almost devious tools that will do things like look at your LinkedIn page and then endorse you and then send a connect request and then finally it's like 3 weeks into you becoming aware of this person that you're starting to get some sort of outreach. So theoretically that's a little bit warmer, right? I that still is feels very programmatic. Versus if you use these tools to help with what is arguably one of the most time intensive parts of business development, right? Trying to find who might be interested in talking to me. So if you can use AI to help you with that, but then you take all these good qualified leads and do a more warm personalized outreach
Yeah.
and looking, kind of looking at the A/B test of that, we get a much higher response rate if we take the time to actually do a personalized outreach versus relying on a formula or an algorithm to handle
Mhm.
that on our behalf, right? We might be able to reach out to many, many, many more people, but if you're only getting a 1% response rate versus maybe like a 20% response rate if a human is doing it.
Yeah. 100%. I think a lot of people just want to use tools like clay.com or tools like that in order to personalize, but personalization means nothing if you don't know who you are talking about, if the message is not relevant for them, and you are
Yeah,
not in the right time. That's so important. Like this is a huge, huge mistake that I saw a lot of people just they want just to use tools like that just to not do the work, the boring work that human base are doing. And
yeah,
this is how is the difference actually for good results and bad results. Amazing. And I remember that I talked with a guy. He was in healthcare recruitment agency. He owns around 250,000 CVs, and they never get in touch with them. How do you approach this one with the CVs part, or how actually are doing the rematching to those candidates and everything?
yeah. So I, I will say we have looked at some tools that do that. We have not actually made an investment into kind of re-engaging, call it I stale resumes, right? However, seen some really interesting tools out there that will take take all of your stale resumes, you know, look through many different avenues that exist out there on the internet to try and grab updated information to update your ATS. There's some great tools out there that can do things like that. Again, we haven't
Mhm.
personally made the investment to do that, but there do exist great tools, and I think that's a great application of AI, right? You're
Mhm.
handling something that very, it's a low, I, um, I I don't think that a human touch could improve the outcome of that, right? If you've got a great tool that can do it, it can do 250,000. in an hour versus humans that will take, you know, years
Exactly.
to sort through.
Okay, that's wonderful. Awesome. Scott, last question, and I think the most important one for the audience as well, where people can find more details about you and also about the company.
Yeah, so am very searchable on LinkedIn. I'm the only Scott Ortez on LinkedIn, so you can certainly find me there. You can find more information about my company, again, also on LinkedIn or at suna.com, SUNA.com.
Amazing. Awesome. Scott, thank you so much for being here and our guest for this episode. And for the audience and for those who are watching this, check below in the description because you have the website, book a call with Scott and also with his other teammates and everything in order to understand as well where app players can make a difference in your organization and not because we can see this trend actually from the CEO of ChatGPT. He mentioned that with just a few people, you can achieve $1 billion. You don't need too many. So check below, book a call with Scott, and you can see where they can support you and providing you some great insights and ideas. Scott, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate the time.
Thank you for having me.